see her, I guess. I reckon you'll be back on the hour.
Well, I've got my chin now, so I'm taking the stairs. Sorry.
Oh, 2.5 minutes.
That was the longest 45 minutes of movement. I had my meal at 2 hours.
Well, yeah.
Oh, so you've just been waiting around like.
We do 7. We just do a round of 8.
Yeah, 7 of each.
We started holding the gap now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's back to bird in C6. Hold him to start. I like the mixed games. Right. We're coming back to level 16. Wait. Oh, no. Oh, that is frustrating.
Right, guys, no we're one short, but JP knows my spiel on this, so he's listened to it every time. So, I never say that. So, you're going to be on a feature tape, it's recorded on YouTube. It's also streamed on YouTube. There's a link up on Facebook. I've tagged a couple of you in it, and actually I could do on Facebook. You can go on to apac.com/live, where you'll find it as well. Feel free to share that with friends and family. It is recorded, so you guys can watch it back after if you want to. The camera's a little bit higher, but it will still pick up what you say around the table, and the handheld mics will pick up. That's all you can say. Anything you say will be there forever. Other than that, just enjoy it, guys. Yeah. We're
Waiting for JP?
Yeah, we'll just
You're waiting for JP.
You got another 14 seconds. It's paying top 7. Prices are up there on the screen. I've got them written down in a bit of a place for you to find them. You can see them there. Yeah, I've just got to put that one live now, but I'll give me 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Alright,
Alright, guys.
I apologise for any commentary on horses. It's not the greatest one for me. I can find somebody else that knows a bit more.
I'll take a go.
How, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I found somebody that knows a lot more about horses.
Let's not overset it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so welcome back to Manchester for day 7 of 9. Getting crazy. This is event number 24. It's the Horse Championship. Seat 2, Mark Nichols. Seat 3, Felix Finkel. Seat 4, JP Round. Seat 5, Mike Buck. Seat 6, John Burberry. Seat 8, Joe Carhill. Seat 10, you'll remember him from last night in the team event, Christoph Stammet. Chip stacks, Mark 68,000, Felix 102, JP 105, Mike has just got 16, John's on 42, Joseph 55, Christoph's got 51. The levels are something. I'm going to hand over to Ian Wick because he'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what's going on.
Hi guys, welcome to the stream. So yeah, everything that Lee just said is true, so that's a good start. We're currently playing 2,000, 4,000 limits, and what game are we playing?
3-6.
Oh, 3-6 limits, sorry. What's the game?
Hold him at the moment.
Okay, so they're playing Limit Hold'em at the moment. So it looks like it's been folded around to Chris.
3-6 blind, 6-12.
6-12 limits? Okay. I looked at the wrong clock. Okay, so I got that wrong. Lee's made me look bad by getting things right. We're actually at 6. We're actually at 6-12 limits. So looks like Mark's going to get a walk here in the big blind. Shows an ace. See, I just need to get sacked. So it's actually a raise from under the gun that's got through. I'll hand over to Joe to do the commentary in a sec. Shockingly, though, as he's actually made the final table, he is paying more attention than me, so that's probably a good thing for Joe. So moving on to our second. Looks like he's considering a raise here. Yep. So he's bumped it up to 12k. Mark folds, Felix folds. Christoph takes that one down. On to the next hand. Of the final table. It's actually 4,500. Some raucous shouting on the other side of the table where the tag team tournament's coming to its conclusion. So if you hear any noise in the background, that's definitely what that screaming is. So here we go, fresh hand limit hold'em. Looks like this is hand number 4. So it's folded under the gun. Joe decides to raise it. It's folded around to JP in the small blind. JP lets that one go as well. And now it's back to Mike, see whether he wants to put any of his newly acquired chips into play. He's making it 3 bets. So essentially here, what Mike's saying is that he wants to play for his whole stack. Even though he isn't able to put it all in because it's a limit game, he's telling Joe that he's going to put the rest of this in if Joe gives him the opportunity. So it's back to Joe now. Technically just 6,000 more to call, but in reality he's going to be thinking about whether he wants to pay off all of Mike's stack in this hand. So Joe having a good think about this. It's going to be a sizable pot if he decides to get involved. He's taking a look at his chip stack. Takes another look at his hand. Obviously must be a tricky one. So Mike's got about 7,500 behind. So Joe finally lets that one go. Quite disciplined there.
So what are we playing in?
So we figured it out. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
Got the limits wrong about 4 times, but
that's all right.
We're on the 5th hand of limit hold'em. They're playing 6-12 limits. So
lovely.
Lines are 3 and 6.
So we're trying a slightly new view for this this tourney this year.
The overhead camera.
The overhead camera. So you basically see 7 pairs of hands and arms, basically.
We'll have to keep describing people by what watches or wristbands
yeah.
yeah.
But hopefully you can kind of make out who's sat where on the bottom. There's a little bomb box as well. So hopefully, and the names are sort of in the right places as well. So
it's okay, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
it looks all right.
We're trying something different. I don't know whether at home you can make out the cards or not. If not, we're going to obviously talk through them as well when we get to some of the other games as well. So
this is it, and that's where it's really crucial. Once these guys get onto the stud games, they're playing Hold'em at the moment. They're going to play Limit Omaha 8 next, Omaha High Low, but then they're going to move on to stud games. It's going to be really important to be able to see those face up.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best to describe the action as well, because there is a bit of glare from the camera lights and stuff like that, but hopefully it'll all make sense.
Hopefully you'll be able to follow it anyway a little bit better than.
Hopefully we'll be able
that's
hurdle number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, we're actually taking a flop here, and because we've been yammering, I've got no idea what's going on. But flop is Queen Jack 8, Rainbow.
And it's JP and John, I think.
It's JP and John in the pot.
Yeah, JP on the button, John in the big blind.
Goes check on the flop. Got the 3 of hearts on the turn. John's reaching for some chips. So now that we're on the turn, the bet goes to big bet, so it's 12,000, which is exactly what John bets and takes it down. So yeah, we've actually seen Mike be quite aggressive with his short stack so far. He's taken down a couple of pots.
Yeah, okay.
Doing a very common thing in limit games where, because you're limited in what you can bet, obviously you can't just get it in, like when you're short stacked in no limit hold'em or games like that. You kind of make a raise or a 3 bet that is telling your opponent, I'm committing and I'm going to get my stack in.
What I've learned, Ian, over the couple of years I've commentated on the 8 game or the horse or any of the limit games, is what I thought were the games whereby, they'll be just quite little piddly pots and they won't happen. Now they're the ones where they all lose their chips.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's 2 split games in the horse rotation, so that sometimes does smooth out the variance a little bit. because you can chop the pot a lot more frequently. But yeah, I mean, which games did you think would be big that turned out to be small, or vice versa then?
Well, I kind of assumed all the money would be going in like the No Limit Hold'em and the Pot Limit Hold'em in the 8 game.
Oh, you're talking about in
the
8 game?
Well, in the 8 game, yeah. And in this, I just kind of assumed that, again, that the Hold'em games and the Omaha, I would say Omaha certainly, I just assumed, but actually, often it's the hands, as I was talking to Philipp Heinz from the German team when we were watching the 8 game, it's the hands that players get attached to and then feel they're calling all the way down, even though they're possibly already beat all the way down the streets.
That's so much more common in the stud games than in the flop games, you're absolutely right. And the fact that in the Omaha as well, it's a split pot game, it does lead to fewer big chip swings. But for now, we're playing Hold'em, and yeah, you're right. The Limit Hold'em does tend to be one of the smaller games in the horse rotation. We've seen a couple of pots already, and because we've got players that are short, there is some 3-betting happening, so it's a bit more feisty than earlier in the tournament. But yeah, I wouldn't expect people to be going crazy in the Hold'em. Okay, looks like we got a walk there for Christoph.
So Mike, who was very much a short stack at the start of the table, has given himself a little bit of breathing space now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what did he start with? He
16,000.
Yeah. And he's definitely got over 25 now. So he's added at least 50% to his stack just by being aggressive. He hasn't gone to showdown, he's just been aggressive. So it looks like we're moving the game on now. So we're now playing Limit Omaha High-Low, or Omaha 8. So all day players are going to get 4 cards, just like any Omaha game. And the pot is going to be split between the best high hand and the best low hand. And to make a low hand, you need 5 cards under an 8, equal to or under an 8, using exactly 2 from your hand. And for the same thing for the high hand, you need to use exactly 2 cards from your hand. That's a very common one that we've all made that mistake when we started playing Omaha.
So Joe Carhill's just made the point that because we're stood quite close or behind him, that we're helping along because he wasn't quite sure how to play these games. So you've just given him an insight in what he should be doing.
I'm pretty sure that's fiction from Joe. I think Joe knows exactly what he's doing. Okay, so Christoph has called the big blind. So we got blind on blind action between Christoph and Mark. We're going to go to a flop. Flop comes down, King Jack 5, 2 diamonds. Be Christoph to act first. He checks it across to Mark. Mark checks it back, so we see the turn. It's the 7 of spades. Christoph now reaching for chips, puts in a bet. It's 12,000. Mark shakes his head, lets it go. So that's 1 for Christoph. So just to try and help a little bit with the overhead camera, chip denominations in play. We've got the orange 500 chips, the yellows are 1,000, and the pinks are 5,000. Hopefully you can make those out on the overhead angle that we've got, but we'll try and call the action as it happens so you know what the bet sizing is. And we're on to a new hand, so it's JP who's under the gun. Folds from JP and Mike. It's round to John. He lets it go, Joe lets it go, so it's Christoph on the button now to make a decision. He's going to go ahead and put in a raise. Mark's going to call that out of the small blind, and it looks like Felix is going to come along as well from the big blind. So we've got 3-way action in this hand. Flop comes out, it's 8-7 deuce. 2 hearts. It's going to be Mark to act first. It's reaching for chips, so it looks like he's going to bet. So 6,000 is a bet. It's on the flop, and pre-flop is the small bet. So when we say the limits are 6 and 12, that's what we mean, is that the small bet is the limit pre-flop and on the flop of 6,000, and the big bet is 12,000, which is on the turn and the river. So we get 2 calls. Go to the turn. It's King of Hearts. So that's 3rd heart on the board. Mark goes ahead and leads out again. Felix is going to let this one go, so it's just up to Christoph whether he would like to see the river.
Was on the final table of the Team MTT last night.
Okay, yeah.
In exactly that same seat, actually.
Oh, so he's getting comfortable. He's making himself at home.
Oh, but he was obviously draped in a Luxembourg flag for that one. Yeah. Now he's back just in civvies.
Just representing himself now. Yeah. All the glory.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Christoph having a good think about this. So another thing that's quite crucial in the high-low split games is to understand whether or not a low is even possible. So there are boards that can come out with enough high cards that no one can make a low, and then you really are just playing Omaha high.
So how do you play Omaha? Will you only ever play hands where you potentially can get both, or if you get a really strong high hand, will you go for it to see what the flop is and whether you play?
Depends whether you're asking me what I would do, Lee, or what you should do.
Well, okay, yeah.
Generally, good strategy is to try and play hands that can win both pots for obvious reasons. However, there are definitely situations, and especially late in tournaments, as we see the river, which is another heart, it's the 10 of hearts, especially in tournaments where potentially you can get short and you just need to gamble. Yeah, certainly going with a strong high hand, I think, can often be.
But I've also seen players that, certainly if they're shorter stacked, if they've got ace deuce in their 4 cards, they're firing it out.
Sometimes that'd be the case. You've just got a really good low hand, especially if it's like ace deuce with another low card as well, so that you can't get counterfeited if the ace or deuce comes. Then it's equally. But then that's common in all of the games. You'll see it in the stud games as well. In Raz, someone, if they're short, and they pick up 3 cards to an 8, 3 cards that are 8 or lower, then they might just go with it, and they're going to get their money in, even if they hit brick after brick after brick. I didn't actually see who took down that pot in the end, but it looks like Mark's the one.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But yeah, I think there's also certainly, when you're deeper earlier on in a tournament, there might be some reasonable arguments to make for playing Omaha hands that can't win a low.
Yeah.
Just to see the flop, and if the flop comes with no low cards, then there's going to be no low. So then you can profit from your good high hand if you get them for a cheap price. So again, I wouldn't, disclaimer to any viewers, I would not recommend following my advice, and certainly not holding me responsible for the results. But
dear Mr. Witt, I now owe considerable sums of money.
Find enclosed an invoice for Joe getting some support from the rail.
It was fairly angry support.
Well, it was Dwayne Stacey, so yes, it would usually be angry support through gritted teeth. So we're going to take a flop here. We got 3 players. It's Felix, JP, and Joe. Flop comes down 5-4 deuce rainbow. So this certainly is a hand where the low is possible. It's gone check. Joe's going to bet 6,000. It's back around to Felix. He's going to call that. JP gets out of the way, so it heads up to the turn. Turn is another 5 of hearts. So we now have 2 hearts. Board reads 5-2, 4-5. So again, Felix has checked it. Joe's going ahead and betting. So 12,000 now that we're on the turn. Felix taking a look at the board, taking a look at his stack. He's reaching for chips and makes a call. So this one's going to go to the river. And it's the 6 of diamonds. Felix considering his options, takes a look at his hand. Checks it over to Joe. Joe is now short enough that he can shovel in. He has less than 12,000, I think.
Or puts the chips across the line.
So we're going to showdown. So Joe's got a straight and a 6-5 low. And it looks like from Felix's demeanor, that's going to be good enough.
Felix is going to win the high because he's got the highest straight, isn't he? And who's got the low? The low is...
right. Felix has rivered the gut shot for the highest straight, hasn't he? So yeah,
basically they're chopping it up,
Yeah, it's going to get chopped up.
Yeah, so Felix had the highest straight, and was it Deuce 3 played for Joe to give him a 6, to give him the 6 high low.
That's it. Yeah, the 3-6 in his hand. Yeah, Joe marvelling at how wonderful that flop was for his hand, and it was. It really was. It doesn't get an awful lot better than that. Joe saying he was worried about a full house, but as it turns out, Felix has managed to river a gut shot. So we move on. So it's going to be John Burberry to act first under the gun. And now Joe decides he doesn't want to play 2 in a row. Round to Christoph, tosses his hand in, and now Mark's going to go ahead and raise it up. Gets a call from Felix on the button. JP Round now has to decide from the small blind whether he wants to get in. He thinks he does. And we're going to see Mike join as well. So we've got 4-way action here to the flop. So there's almost 5k in this pot, and it comes king, king, deuce. It's gone check, check, round to Mark. He's checked it as well, so everyone's checked it round to Felix on the button. Mark was a pre-flop raiser, but Felix is going to lead out here.
The 2 kings on the board pretty much now really limits the chances of a low hand, yeah?
Yeah, that's it. We need to see runner low cards for a low to be possible, so this has more or less become a high hand. Gets a call from Mark though, so it heads up to the turn, and now the low is technically impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the Jack of Hearts. Mark checks it to Felix again. Felix just taking a look at the board, shuffling some chips. He's going to check it back, so we go to the river, heads up still. And it's the 8 of spades. So it does look like Mark's now going to put a bet in. Gets an instant snap call. And Mark has just mucked his hand, so he obviously thought he could take it away from Felix there. So we don't get to see a showdown, but some chips move Felix's way.
That's going to, I mean, just adding to Felix's chip lead at the moment here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's been very, very kind in stacking out all his chips in stacks of 10, so we can actually see almost exactly what he's got. So it looks like about, and then a stack of pink. Is that all pink? Yeah, so that's got to be, it's got to be about 150.
Yeah, I was going about 100, 140-ish, something, yeah.
It's in that ballpark. So, you know, with 6 and 12 limits, you know, he's got over 10 big bets, but generally we're relatively short here, like at a lot of final tables, to be fair.
Yeah, yes, that happens.
You know, it's late in the tournament, the levels have been flying up all evening.
And they've all been holding on, wanting to get in the money and make the final table, so.
Absolutely, so no one's absolutely safe here. That's what makes it exciting. You know, any of these players could lose a couple of hands and be out, so.
Yeah.
And Felix carries on the winning train, takes down another pot there.
I mean, is it a case in that, is it as easy for a bigger stack to dominate the table as they can do, say, in a no-limit hold'em or a pot limit game?
I think there certainly can be an element of that. It's not quite a direct translation of that principle from no-limit hold'em, where you can literally bully your opponents by closing your bets. But yeah, certainly, you know, a player with a shorter stack has got fewer moves in their locker. You know, you'd be looking at, well, you know, if in the flop games, if I take a flop and call a flop bet and then don't win the hand, what am I going to be left with? You know, and often you're trying to figure out, like, how many more hands can I lose before it becomes desperate? So yeah, having that buffer means you've got a lot more freedom.
So yeah, you lose that ability to basically, in a push of a chip stack, put effectively your opponent all in for their tournament life to make that decision that they've got to make.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, again, in the flop games before the flop or in the stud games on the first street, you know, there's definitely still the same dynamics that you see in no-limit hold'em, where people in position will raise, not necessarily with any real hand, but just because they have position and they think that a short stack is not going to want to commit their chips. You will see that, but yeah, down the streets, you see a lot more that short stacks get committed, like you were talking about earlier. So you'll definitely see people calling a bet, and then you'll think maybe, well, why are they calling more bets? Their hand has not improved, and it looks like they've definitely lost. But actually, they've just already decided they're committed, and they don't want to put themselves in a bad spot.
Joe's betting out 6k here on the board of 5 of hearts, king of spades, ace of spades, and you might not be surprised to know it's Felix in the hand as well.
Yeah, I think we found our table captain, right?
Another spade. So that's 3 of spades on the board, in more ways than one. 3 spades and 3 of spades.
Okay, and looks like Joe's going to attempt
pretty
to
much all in.
I think he's short enough. Oh, not quite. But he puts in a big bet.
But there's a low, obviously there's, obviously the likelihood of a low hand here now as well.
Absolutely. And
3 spades on the board. But Joe's not in for that much. He's in for, what are they? So it's only 12,000?
Yeah, but he's only got about 5.5k behind, I believe.
Yeah. So the bet's 12,000. He's got 500k behind. Felix will certainly pay him off here, but fair play to Felix. It would have been easy then, I guess, to. But I suppose, does he looked at that and thought he's got nothing of it? So
that's it. It's difficult not knowing Felix's hand,
yeah.
But yeah, I suspect in that spot he felt that there was just no way he could win either pot. And so there's a lot of times like that in limit games where, especially when you get to the last street, whether it be the river on a flop game or 7th.
So Joe showed a couple of spades there. So he was he turned the flush. Yeah.
No low though, right, Joe?
So yeah. Ian said no low though, Joe, and he said certainly not.
In a very polite and dignified manner.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that a lot when you get towards the end of a hand, and again, to a no limit hold'em player, it might seem insane that someone's betting 12,000 into a pot that's got 40,000 in it, or 50,000, or 60,000, and people are folding. And they're sort of saying, well, you're getting insane pot odds, but it's a big part of the limit games is being able to fold for just one more bet when it's right to do so. So yeah, Joe gaining a healthy chunk there. Looks like he's got about 50k now, give or take. Okay, Joe also gets the button, but he's going to pull that in because we've now reached what I think are the fun games. I like the stud games, and we're going to start with Raz. So. Oh, we've got to explain what stud games are and what Raz is. So this is going to be fun. Yeah, Lee's just putting his microphone away.
Do you notice I quickly switched that off? Yeah.
Okay, so the very quick guide to stud games is everyone's going to be dealt 2 cards face down. Well, okay, let's start at the very beginning. Everyone's going to ante, which is what's happening now. So there's no blinds in a stud game. Everyone just antes. And at the moment, the ante is 600. I'm looking at Joe. Ante's 1,000. We'll get to bring-ins in a minute, Joe. You're jumping ahead of me. So now everyone's getting dealt 2 cards face down, and then they're all going to get a card face up. So everyone is going to get their own individual board here, starting with this first face-up card. And then in Raz, which is a low ball game where you're trying to make a low hand, the highest card has to bring in. And here the bring-in looks like it's 1,000, 2,000. Thanks, Joe. So JP has brought in for 2,000. And now players are folding around. They have the option to call that 2,000. They can complete to a whole small bet, which would be 6,000. You're playing 5-10. Oh, completes 5. No, complete might be 3. All right, we got there in the end with some help from Joe. So it's a 2,000 bring in. I think it's a complete to 3, and then we must be playing 6-12 because those are the limits. We wouldn't have lower limits for the stud games than we do for the other games, but we'll try this again. We're getting another hand, so we can try explaining Raz again.
Whilst we're having a quick change of deal, let me run you down just a couple of people on the Facebook group that's posted up. So Patrick Davis, Kev Smith, Andy Overton, Asa McGrath, Carl Bilgrim, Michelle Cath, Nick Rawlings, Stu Ward, who's now on a plane, so Phil TC, and Jack Prime. Hello to all of you, if you're watching or not, or just posted on Facebook, and therefore you're not watching, so you're not listening, and you don't care whether I've said hello to you, but hello to you all anyway.
It was a bit of a who's who of APAC there, wasn't it?
It was a little bit. Oh, I missed Russ Halesworth as well, who was JP for the win this time. Ooh, that sounded sinister.
So here we go. So everyone is anteed. Dealer's going to deal 2 face-down cards. So just like Hold'em here, you're going to get 2 face-down cards to start. But then once she's done that, she's going to deal a face-up card. So now these door cards, they're called door cards. They're going to be coming out. And we're going to find the high card, which is the 9 of hearts for JP. So JP gets to bring in again. So that's 2,000. And now players are going to decide whether they want to call, complete, or fold. And so Joe has completed to 5k. Felix has called that, and JP's called the complete as well. So we've got 3 players going to 4th Street. So they're going to get their 4th card, their 2nd face-up card. And now the best low hand is going to go first. So Ace-5 for Felix, which he checks, JP checks, and Joe checks his Jack-5. So they now get a 3rd face-up card, 5th card overall. And JP now has the strongest board showing with 9-8-5. He's going to be acting first. So he has the option here to either check or bet. Bet would be 12,000 because we're at 5th Street.
There we go. So if you want to twins, or if you want your media moment in the spotlight of the final table, you should be on.
Is everyone going?
So we're left with just Felix and JP. They've now had their last card face down. So Felix is showing 5 ace jack 6. JP's got 9 5 8 7. Felix fires out a bet of 10,000. Thinking that JP had checked. JP said he hadn't. So he does check now, and so the bet still stands from Felix. And JP, as you can see there, mucks his cards. So Felix wins that and shows 7-3 deuce for 6 high. So unfortunately, we've lost Ian. He's heading back to the Team Gotham house for the evening. So 2 more days of the World Championships for them. So you're left with me, unless I can find anybody else in the room that fancies commentation that knows a bit more about the game than I do, which is probably most other people in the room, to be honest. But anyway, we are what we are. So let's go on. I'm not sure whether you guys at home are getting to see all of the cards. I know one side of the table is a little bit better. The lighting's not great in here for us to pick up on everything, but we'll do our best to show you all what's going on. So we're looking for the high cards of who's to play first. It's going to be JP with a king of spades. So he brings in. John's showing a 6 and folds. Out the way goes Joe. Christoph bets 5,000 with a 4, and JP makes the call. So it's a 7 for JP and an 8 for Christoph. King 7 for JP, 8-4 for Christoph, and it goes check, bet, fold, and Christoph picks up that stack of chips, adds to his. I'd say we got 3 fairly short or shorter stacks at this table. Mike, John and Joe. But as you've seen with some of the games, the way they're played out, chips can move around quite quickly when you're betting all down every street, so things can change quite quickly. I said earlier, all 7 of these are in the money. Payouts are top right of your screen. 935 up top, plus the gold medal and WCOAP bracelet. So it's Joe with the bringing this time, showing the King of Diamonds. You can probably make out there on the right-hand side of the screen. It's gone round to Mike, who's bet 5,000 with a 7 showing. Joe shows another king and a deuce and therefore gets out of the way. Not interested in playing that hand. So it's Felix with the bringing this, but he's actually, yeah, with the bringing this time. JP shows a 6 and he completes, and everyone else has got out of the way. So JP adds to his stack. Top left of your screen, you can see his APAT. Oh, I think that's an APAT guard from season 4, I want to say. I'm going to go and get that confirmed. I'm pretty sure it is. My, just seeing a small glimpse of it, I realised it was a season 4 card guard. Probably worth a fortune now, JP, I reckon. Yeah, yeah. So on we go. Let's have a look. We've got so King with Mark is the high card. So he brings in for 2,000, and Felix is showing a deuce, and he raises it up to 6. JP gets out of the way, as does Mike, as does John, and Joe is showing an ace, and he bets, and Christoph has a 6 and raises it up to 12,000. So just 2 players remaining. Felix, left-hand side of your screen, looks like he's going to make the call. He does. And Joe, right-hand side of your screen, he's going to make the call. So Felix is showing a deuce. Joe showing an ace. Christoph showing a 6. So Felix got a king with his deuce. Joe gets a 9 with his ace. And it's a 4 with his 6 for Christoph. And he fires out a bet of 6,000, and Felix folds. So it's just Christoph and Joe, right-hand side of your screen. Joe's playing only about, maybe about 20,000 behind. You can't quite see his, well, yes, you can see his chips, just at the bottom of the payouts there. And he's going to make the call. So Joe gets dealt 6, and it's a queen for Christoph. So Joe's now showing ace 9 6. Christoph is showing 6 4 queen, and Joe moves all in. Instant call from Christoph. So it's 8 5 for Joe behind, and it's a 4 deuce. Joe gets a 6. Christoph gets an 8. Last card, and Joe's paired up twice. Christoph is slow rolling. He's not having looked at it yet. So over it comes Christoph, and he shows a 10. And we are going to lose Christoph in 7th place. Very well done to him. Another final table. Great performance. But Christoph is going to depart in 7th place, and we're down to 6. Cahill just had Christoph covered there. It was the two shorter stacks, as I said. On we go. So 2 kings on the board, 2 red kings, which means it's the hearts that have to bring in. So round we go. JP's showing a 4, top left of your screen, and you can see him putting out a bet, and he fires out 6,000, which is the bring in, not bring in, sorry, it's the small bet, I think. And anyway, it's enough for JP to take that down. Stacking up some more chips. So minimum cash now is 155. Just a little pay jump. But a little pay jump is better than no pay jump. So it's Mike with the bring in this time, and it's a bet from Mark with a deuce showing, and Mike gets out of the way. So we change games. We're on to stud. Well, I've got no one to explain that, so this could be good. So basically, stud is pretty much the reverse of the last game they were playing Raz. So last time they were playing with a low hand. This is the time they're playing with a high hand. So it's the lowest card that's showing, which brings in, which is Mark with the 4 of diamonds, and Felix with the Queen of clubs showing, bets out 6,000, folds all the way round to Joe Cahill, who's showing the 4 of spades, and he's going to call that bet. Mark's going to get out of the way, so we're going to be 2 players. Felix on the left-hand side of your screen and Joe on the right. You can probably actually make out Joe. I think the light's just a little bit too bright on Felix's side, so I'll tell you what he's got. He's now got the Queen and 5 of clubs showing. Joe has the Ace of clubs with a 4 of diamonds, which you should be able to make out. So Joe bets out 6,000 and Felix is going to fold, and Joe Cahill adds to his stack. So it's John with the low of 3 of clubs. He's to bring in. Round we go. 6 diamonds, no good for Mark. And Felix is back in with the King of clubs. 4 not happy for JP. And Mike gets out of the way as well. And simple as that. Felix takes it down. I guess that happens quite a few times. If all the players have got dealt low cards and not got anything behind that's going to improve their hand. The high cards showing with a bet out normally will take it down. So next hand, and it's 2 sixes again. This time, so 6 of hearts brings in. 6 of spades is for JP, who's next to act, with his London Underground T-shirt on. So I was just quickly saying goodbye to one of the Luxembourg players, Christoph, who's just got a flight to catch in about 4 hours. Or well, they've got to get to the airport in 4 hours. I don't quite know how that works because that's like 3 in the morning. But I'm not sure. But they've got a flight anyway. So, and they're on their backs. And JP has 2, 3, 4, 6 of spades. It's a pair of 6, no stud. Pair of 6s, a pair of kings for John. And there's another spade for JP, so I think pretty much that's going to be done. Yeah, we're going to lose John in 6th place. JP has this king high spade flush, and that was good enough.
I'll take him away then. Ian, you've got to go to the bar. JP's doing well again. Congratulations, JP. Congratulations on your fourth, JP. Well done, mate. Is it 6? 12. You are really I don't really want to go in anywhere. I haven't seen it yet. I've got to be 4K. Let's see what happens. Yes, quite low now, yeah?
No. Sorry, hi.
Down to 5. Start quite exciting now. 5. 5 seems better than 7. On we go. I'm saying, yeah, we're still playing stud. So 5 is the low card for Mike, so he brings in. Joe's got a jack of spades showing, so bets has 6,000, and it's 8 of spades for Felix, and he's going to call. Yeah. And 10 of diamonds for JP, so he's along for the ride. So there's 4 of them in this hand. So Felix Felix shows has got another 8, so he bets out 12,000. JP has now got the ace of diamonds to go with his 10 of diamonds, and Joe has got the 4 of spades to go with his jack of spades. He passes, and Joe makes a call. So just the 2 players, Felix to your left and Joe to your right. And it's a 6 of hearts, Felix. So he's got the 8 of spades, 8 of hearts, 6 of hearts. And Joe's got another 4. Jack of spades, 4 of spades, 4 of clubs. I think you can probably make that one out, actually. So Felix bets out 12,000 and Joe makes the call. So we're going to 6th Street, and it's the ace of spades for Felix. He checks this time. Joe checks. He's got the 6 of clubs with that. Last card face down. Here comes the last round of betting. Big pot here. Check from Felix. Check from Joe. And it's trip 8s for Felix. He had 8 in his hand originally, I think, looking at the way he put them down. Yeah, he did. I'm not quite sure. I suppose there's Joe's hand, what he was showing, there's possibility that Joe was ahead, but I don't know, it felt like Felix maybe missed a bet there, to me. What do I know? I don't play this game, so, but it felt that way. I've watched a bit of it now, and it did feel that way.
For one more. That's why I checked the river, and then you got the ace of spades. I thought, oh, yeah.
Yeah, listen to the 2 players there. It sounds like they were certainly concerned, or Felix was certainly concerned about the spade flush. And when Felix got dealt the ace of spades, say Joe inside was like, that's not good. So Joe's showing the 3 of clubs, so he brings in fold from Mark, and it's a king for Felix, and he makes it 6,000, and JP calls, showing the 7 of hearts. So it's just going to be the 2 players, Felix and JP this time. Felix gets the ace of spades to go with his king of spades. JP gets the 10 of clubs to go with his 7 of hearts. Both players top left of your screen, and 6,000 is the bet, and JP makes the call. And it's another ace for Felix. It's the ace of hearts this time, and JP gets the 9 of clubs. So JP now has 7 of hearts, 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs, and it's king of spades, ace of hearts for Felix. Felix bets out 12,000 this time, and you can see JP counting out some chips, whether he's going to and JP's going to make the call. Felix gets the deuce of diamonds, and it's 4 of hearts for JP. Felix fires out another bet of 12,000.
What do you think, mate?
JP's playing about 55,000 behind. You can see him just counting out his chips, top left of his screen, just being what he's got. 12,000 is the bet from Felix, who's the chip leader. This is where these limit games get very much and JP hit the straight on the river, 7 to the jack, and is going to scoop. Very nice pot for JP. JP said he was open-ended all the way, and got there. So it's a 3 of diamonds for JP. Bring in this time. So Mike has got the king of diamonds, and he's very, very short, Mike. He makes it 6,000, and he's pretty much got another 7,000 behind. So this is him committed. This is his hand, and Felix makes the call. So pretty much we think we know what's going on here, but we've got to play it through. So 7 of clubs for Felix, and it's the king of diamonds for Mike. Felix gets another 7. Mike gets the 10 of clubs to go with his king. So, it's 2.5 actually, not even 7. It's 2.5. So they're in. So Felix currently with pair of 7s. Mike's got a king behind, so kings is good for Mike. Mike's now got kings and queens. 5 is what I was going to say. 5 is what Felix was going to need with his 7th card, and he didn't get there. So kings and queens is good enough for. Double up for Mike. Top of your screen, just stacking up his yellow and orange. So orange chips are 500, yellows are 1,000, and the pink chips are 5,000. So low card is a bring in, which is the 3 of clubs. We're on the first hand. We're on the first hand of stud high low. So exactly the same as what we were just playing, except we now split the pot and there's a high hand and a low hand. Low hand needs to be 5 cards of 8 or lower. So Mike is bringing in again. Always seems to be the way with these games. The shorter stack always seems to be the one that's bringing in. Seems to be the way it works. There must be some law in the game that means that happens. Happens far too often. So 3 players in this hand, and Joe is showing Jack 10. Mark is showing Ace 10, and JP's got 8 10. Thought Joe had checked, but actually he hadn't. He's now bet out, and Mark gets out of the way, and JP makes the call. So JP gets an ace to go with his 8 and deuce, and Joe gets a 9 to go with his 10 and jack. It's 9, 10 jack rainbow for Joe actually. So Joe is going to bet 12,000, and JP makes the call. Remember, they're playing a high hand and a low hand here, so there's a possibility it could get chopped up. And it's a king of spades to go with JP's 8 deuce ace, and it's a 4 of diamonds for Joe. And Joe is just counting out what the bet's going to be. It's going to be 12,000, but it's going to leave him only about 12,000 behind. Joe says JP says I raise. Joe says I'm going to call. Joe's got the straight. Joe's got the straight for the high card, and JP needs an ace or an 8 to beat the high for the full house, and it's not got it. And there's no low out there, so Joe is going to scoop the lot with the high card. First 5 cards flop. Well, yeah, flopped in my expression, but basically first 5 cards. 9 to the king straight, and Joe wins a very nice pot. You can see him on the right hand side just counting up those chips, stacking them all up.
You've not been here long. We have 5 or 10 minutes. We've got to race off to 500.
Take a very short break at the end of this level so they can race off the 500 chips. So even the dealers can get confused at times, dealing Raz one hand and then moving to a new table, and we're playing a different game, stud high low. So bringing is Joe with a 6 showing, and it's completed by Mark with a 9 of clubs showing, and the other guys are folded, so we're back around to Joe. Does he want to play? No, he doesn't. He doesn't want to play. So Mark picks up a very tiny pot, just the antes and the bring-in from Joe. But hey, every chip counts. So it's the 3 of clubs with Felix is the bring in, and JP is showing the 3 of hearts, and he's not folding quickly here, so he might well be looking to complete. And decisions. And yeah, makes it 6,000. Joe's got the 8 of spades showing, and he's going to have a little go at this. So it's going to be JP and Joe. JP top left of your screen, Joe on the right hand side of your screen. JP gets a king of hearts to go with his 3 of hearts, and Joe gets 2 of clubs to go with his 8 of spades. JP fires out another bet, and it's a fairly quick call from Joe. So we're going to 5th Street, and it's a 10 of clubs for JP, 9 of hearts for Joe. And JP says it's going to be, makes it 12, which is a big bet. And Joe gets out of the way this time. So it's Joe with the bring in with the 2 of hearts, and being completed by Mark with the 8 of hearts. Felix is long as well with a 6 of spades. So is JP with a 6 of clubs. So Joe gets out of the way. So it's going to be 3 players to see the 4th street. And it's Mark gets a 9 with his 8. It's 3 to go with Felix's 6. And JP gets a 6 of clubs, as king of clubs to go with his 6 of clubs. JP makes a bet of 6,000 and Mark calls. So 2 players now on 5th Street. And it's Jack to go with the 9 and 8 for Mark. And JP gets a 7 of diamonds to go with his 2 clubs, king and 6. And it goes bet call. So Mark raises it up, and after the Jack of Hearts hits and shows 7-10 of hearts in his hand. So players are just going to be on a very short break here whilst we just chip off the 500 chips. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back very, very shortly.
Yeah, guys, the clock's on for 10 minutes, but you come back in 5 and I've done the race and you're all here, we'll get started earlier, no problem with that. Lee! Oh, fuck. I shouldn't say that. No, it's alright, Tommy. You can watch these chips in 2 seconds, can't you? What do you want, mate? Alright? Leave the rest, can't I? Yeah, it makes the 90 change on the table, so sweet. You want to play this back for me? Thank you very kindly, sir.
It will take me something like 10 minutes to finish.
Well, all of the rest of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you can leave it.
There's 2 of us, though. I need both me and Gabby to finish. I'm not sure if we can, because there's a horse cash game over there. But we'll see. I mean, anyway,
Put your horse here.
anyway, this is live. Yeah, right? Got caught on myself a couple of times. on chip counts actually? I can do that quickly if you want.
I'm 77. He's slightly down on me.
Oh, sorry, JP. 70 exactly. JP is 70 exactly.
77.
Let those two about 10 in, and those two about 10 in, and Mike's got
15. 77, 15, 70. Roughly 135, roughly 130.
So just a quick rough chip count. So Mark in seat 1 is playing about 130. Felix seat 2 playing 135. Well, say seat 2, seat 3 on the screen 135. JP has got exactly 70,000. Mike has got 15, and Joe has got 77. So 2 stacks quite close together. Seats 2 and 3 about 10k between, or 5-10k between them. At 130 odd. Then it's JP and Joe around the 70 odd mark. And poor Mike, very much the short stack here with 15k. But it can all change. We have seen a short stack this week come back from all sorts. One of the guys the other night was the short stack on a final table of 8, I think it was, a very short stack, and won the event. So it's all to play for still. Who knows what can happen? So players are just on a break. They'll be back in a couple of minutes. We've still got going on here the open face Chinese. I think that's down to 2 tables. I can see Gabrielle still sat there. John Reese is still sat there. I think George Beddy is as well. There's a lot of people on the rails, so it's hard to know who's playing and who's actually watching. And the No Limit Hold'em Cash Championship, 2 tables playing out tonight. A lot of APAC regulars on that, trying to win their way through to Sunday's final. Players are just gathering back and we'll be ready to go in a minute. About 1 minute to go on the break, so we'll let that play down whilst they just settle in.
And we're 2 now. So it must be something like
2 to 816.
Important thing during the break is I've added a hyphen in Joe, and he wants a capital H now as well in Joe Carhill's name. He's now getting demanding, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind doing a hyphen, but a capital H as well. Goodness me. There we go. That'll keep Joe happy now. He'd be even happier with the medal, but there's a bit of way to go. So yeah, if anyone was just stepped away during the break, so we reckon Mark is playing about 130, Felix 135, JP 70, Mike 15k, and Joe 77,000. So 2 up around the 130, 2 up around the 70, and Mike as the short stack. And we're just going to get the clock restarted and we're off we go. So we are still playing stud high-low for, I think, a couple more hands. So, as I said earlier on, this happens so often. The short stack is the bring-in. And Mike's got the deuce. And Joe makes it 8,000 with the 3 of clubs. And so as Ace of Hearts showing for Felix, and he's going to call that. And Mike gets out of the way. Interesting there with it's a high-low game, so Mike with a deuce. You'd have thought he'd be potentially be on for drawing with the string. So, where are we now? Felix is showing an ace, deuce, jack 10, and it's 4-7, queen 3 for Joe. They've both got 7th Street, and Felix bets out 16,000. Decision on Joe, right-hand side of your screen. You can see his cards in front of him. And he's going to fold. And Felix says, I've got 5s, and Joe says it was good enough. No lows in there. They both missed their low. So a pair of 5s takes it down. So it's a deuce for deuce of clubs for JP, which means he brings in for 2. Mike folds, as does Joe. Wow. Wow. I don't think that happens very often. I'm assuming that doesn't happen very often. JP brings in, 4 players fold, so JP scoops the pot. Wow. That's how good he's running at the moment. So we're on to limit Texas Hold'em. So very similar to what a lot of you guys probably play at home, except you can't bet all in. You've got to bet the limits down each street. So they get dealt 2 cards, and we may well see a flop, turn, and river, depending on what happens. So small blind is Mark, big blind is Felix, which means it's JP to act first. He folds, and Mike is pretty much, raised it up. I don't think, but he's pretty much all in, and he is all in. So just the blinds to get through. Mark's interested. I guess Felix has got a call. Felix says, I've got a call. Felix says, I've got a call. I've not looked at them, but I've got a call. It's ace 3 for Mike, and it's 7-4 for Felix. It's the ace 3 that's at risk. Here we go then. And it's Queen, King, Jack. And another Queen. 4 to 7 or a 4, and no, 7 on the river, and we're going to lose Mike in 5th place. Very well played to him. He's going to pick up £205 for his troubles today. Well played, Mike. If you pop over the cash just there, they'll give you a slip, and then you just get it for the cashier. Yeah, all right, well done, buddy. No worries. So then there were 4, down to 4. What we got, JP in the small blind and Joe in the big blind. It's folded around to JP. He makes up the small blind, so we're going to see a flop. And it's 8-7-8, 2 diamonds. They've gone check, check, so they see the 4 of spades on the turn. Check, check again. Queen of hearts, wow. King high for JP. Joe says ace high, and Joe scoops the lot, which was just the blinds. So these guys now guaranteed £290 each. Third place, 415 plus the bronze medal. Second place is 620 plus the silver medal. And first place, gold medal, WCOAP bracelet, and £935. So Mark gets the walk with 6-2 off, which they made him show. I don't know how he showed it. I'm not sure, but it doesn't make any difference whether he does or not. Mark in the small blind, Felix in the big blind, JP to act first. And the blinds here are 4,000, 8,000. JP raises it up to 16,000. Mark folds and Felix folds. JP picks up the blinds. So Felix makes up the small blind here. JP's big blind. Looks like he's reaching for raising chips. You can see top of your screen. Let's see whether he does. And he does. Oh, actually, no, I think Felix has actually made the raise and JP made the call. I apologise for that. So we can see a board, and it's Jack of clubs, 9 of clubs, 2 of diamonds. Apologies, you can't see all the cards on the table. It's really, the lighting in here is just different across the table, and the camera just can't pick it all up. But we'll talk you through as much of it as we can. And we've got this screen up this way to try and give you guys an idea of what's going on and chip stacks to follow. Obviously, when it's the two lots of flop games, it's a little bit more tricky for you to see. But they've gone, it's gone check, and then 9 of spades on the turn, check, 3 of spades on the river, and Felix has checked, decision on JP. And looks like he's counting out chips. And he makes a bet, and Felix folds, and JP is going to scoop that one up. So, dealer announces the last hand of Texas Hold'em. Might be down to a final table of the open face Chinese by the looks of it. Which unfortunately means we are not going to be able to stream that whilst we're still four-handed here, which is a shame. We streamed that last year. It was good fun. Meant a lot of messing about with the cameras for us to be able to do it, but we got there in the end. So the guys are playing Limit Omaha now. Joe in the small blind, Mark in the big blind, Felix first to act and he folds. JP's button. So the board is 7-4-9. So it goes bet call, and it's the deuce of spades on the turn. So it's now 7 of hearts, 4 of diamonds, 9 of spades, deuce of spades. And it's check again from Joe, and this time Mark checks. So they're both going to see the 3 of hearts on the river. So Mark small blind and Felix big blind, which means it'll be JP to act first here. Still playing Omaha. This is the medal bubble. So JP makes it 16,000. Round we go to Joe, right hand side of your screen. And he's counted out 16,000, yeah, and in they go. 3 pinks and a yellow. Mark gets out the way. Felix on the big blind. He's going to call as well, left hand side of your screen. So 3 players going to see the flop. And it is Jack of clubs, 5 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds. It'll be Felix to act first, and he checks. JP is the original aggressor here, and he makes it 8,000. Very, very quick call from Joe Carhill, who's now only playing about maybe 14,000 behind, 15,000 behind. Felix calls as well. So it's the 10 of hearts on the turn. I get the feeling that Joe's really committed to this hand. I don't see how he's going to get away from it now. JP bets out 16,000, and that's Joe. That's 13. Joe all in. Joe's all in for 13. So right hand side of your screen, Joe's all in for 13. Is Felix going to make the call here? He is. So 6,000 on the side. Joe can win the main pot. 2 players remaining that get to action on the river. I think with a medal bubble, they might just go check, check here. 6 of spades on the river, so it's Jack, 5, 7, 10, 6. No flush draws out there. Yeah, JP's going to check it as well. JP says JP's got the low straight, and he's also got the nut low. So JP wins all of the side pot, and he's going to, I think, take 3/4 of the main pot, and Joe is going to be left with 1/4 of the main pot, and is cringing after that. Cringing after that. But yeah, I think with 3 players in the hand, actually, that's left Joe probably a few more chips than you started that hand with. Yeah. Not a lot in it. Not a lot in it. So Joe's got about 30,000. I think exactly 30,000 actually. Yeah, Joe's playing 30,000 now. Blinds are still 4,000, 8,000 in this Omaha high-low. So Felix is small blind, JP in the big blind, which means it'll be the short stack Joe to act first. And he folds. As does Mark. And Felix says raise. Is JP going to defend from his big blind this time? Looks like it. It's counting chips. Top of your screen, blue t-shirt, London Underground sign on front. And he makes a call. So it's 6 Jack 4 with 2 spades, and Felix fires out another bet. 8,000. And JP is going to call, so we're going to see a turn. And it's another 4 of clubs this time. Felix gives JP a little bit of look and then checks. Is JP going to check behind, or is he going to bet? No, he checks behind. So it's the 5 of hearts on the river. So nothing flushing out there. So it's 6 Jack 4 4 5. And you can see Felix fires out a bet. And JP makes a call. 16,000 was the bet. And pocket aces in his hand for Felix. And JP's got 6 8 8 7. So he's made the straight 4 5 6 7 8. And they're going to chop it up. So JP hit the high, and Felix hit the low, and they chop it. That happens quite a lot in these high-low games. We got an all-in and a call pre here. So JP has, what's he got? He's got aces, a jack and a 3, and it's king 10 4 5 for Joe. I'll try and talk you through this as best I can. So the board is coming down 8 deuce king. So JP's looking good for the low here, and is looking good, still ahead with the high at the moment. A 10 on the turn gives two pair for Joe, and he's got the heart flush draw at the moment. JP still hasn't made his low, and a deuce on the river means it is so aces and deuces beats kings and 10s, no low hand. JP scoops, and we're going to lose Joe Cahill in 4th place. I hope you all got that at home. There we go. So Joe is going to leave us in 4th place, winning £290. Very well done to him. Quite a sick river card for him. The board pair, which means JP made his 2 pair. His 2 pair was better than Joe's. Let's find out who's going to win these medals. Or should I say, what colour they're each going to get. JP and Mark in this hand. Boards 5, Jack, Deuce, Rainbow, and Mark bets out and JP folds. Mark's playing 160, Felix playing 100, and JP's playing about 150. So very much all to play for him. So JP raises to 16,000 and Felix is going to call out of the big blind. So I think we say last hand of Omaha, I think this is. So 6-3-3 is the board, Rainbow, so we're not flushing out there at the moment. Check from Felix, JP goes to reach for some chips and he folds. JP shows a 3. One JP says good luck to another JP as we lose John Pat. So actually this is the last hand of Omaha. So it's a raise on the button from Mark. He makes it 16,000. And Felix gets out of the way. What's JP going to do with his big blind here? And he's made the call. So it's going to be Mark and JP. And the board is 4 of hearts, 6 of clubs, 9 of diamonds. This has worked out really well. That all 3 of them are sat down the one end of the table where you can't actually see the cards on the screen because of the lighting. Oh well. You live and learn. Yeah, that one's facing down at the table and then that is straight over the top. So it's bet and a call brings the 3 of spades. Check, check brings the 10 of diamonds. So no flushes out there. And I think it's going to go check, check. JP says 2 pair. JP says 2 pairs. Actually, 3 pair actually. That'll be enough to win that. I get better camera angle, but I can't. So there you go. Tis what it is. So what? So we're now playing Raz. Still plenty of play in this at the moment, but it's also very easy to lose chips. Betting down every street when you get married to a hand. So Mark showing king 8, JP showing 9 deuce. JP gets another deuce with his 9 deuce, and Mark gets a 7 to go with his king 8. Mark fires out another bet. Deuce is not great for JP because he's actually got he flips over another 9 and a deuce. So he'd actually made a full house. Not great in Raz really. So Mark's got a king showing, Felix a 6, and it's a 3 for JP, which means Felix has to bring. Mark has to bring in. Felix completes for 8,000. Decision on JP with his 3. Looks a good hand for a Raz hand, but obviously the 2 below aren't any good as he folds. It's got a bit rowdier because a few of Team Gotham's just come back into the room. Simon's looking at me thinking, am I going to actually point a microphone in his direction? You've got to be kidding me. If you think, yeah, it's not happening. So Mark again with the king showing. Felix completes with the 5 showing, and that's good enough for Felix. He's going to win that one. Onto stud.
No, that can't have been worse.
Onto stud. This is now back onto stud, and Felix has got king 7 showing and bet out. JP calls with queen 9 showing. Felix gets a 5 to go with his king 7. JP gets a 3. Neither of those cards appear to be much use to anybody, but actually the 10 of hearts for Felix gives him 3 hearts on his showing now. It's an 8 for JP. So here comes 7th Street. It's gone check again. I've got a feeling this was just going to go check and show, but I don't know. One of them might have completed a hand here and is going to fire out a bet. It looks like it might be Felix, and he bets 20,000. And JP folds. Nice hand for Felix.
Do you need something to drink? Thank you.
So you can see the bottom of the screen. They are our 3 remaining players. So Felix has got 4-5-5 showing, Ace King 9 for JP, and Ace 10-8 for Mark. And it's a bet out of 20,000 by Felix, called by JP. Mark gets out of the way. So we're going to go to 6th Street, and it's a jack for Felix and a 9, another 9 for JP. JP bets out 20,000 this time, and Felix is going to fold. So bring in by Mark and called by Felix. JP completes, so Felix is as well. So 3 of them are going to see 4th Street here. So Mark is showing 9 deuce, Felix 10-4, and it's the ace 6 of JP to act first. They've all checked. Mark gets another deuce to go with his deuce 9. It's his 3rd diamond for Felix, 7-4-10, but it's another ace for JP. So he fires out a bet, 20,000. Mark calls. So 2 players, Felix out the way. 2 players are going to see 6th Street. Mark gets a 4, and JP gets a 5. So it's ace of clubs, 6 of hearts, ace of diamonds, 5 of clubs for JP, who checks, and it's 9 of clubs, deuce of hearts, deuce of diamonds, 4 of clubs for Mark, who checks as well. Here's 7th Street dealt to each of them. Is either of them going to find a bet here, or is it going to go check? JP checks. And Mark says if you got 2 pair, and JP had a 5. Mark also had a 9. So Mark had queens and 9s. JP had aces and 5s. That's good enough. JP adds to his stack and is starting to really take control in this 3-handed. So, antes in, 2,000 each. Marks get dealt 6 of clubs. It's Jack of Hearts for Felix, and it's 4 of spades for JP. And JP brings in, and does that even? I mean, is that called a walk? It is a walk, I guess, in this game. Yeah. Other 2 get out of the way, and JP takes back his bringing and scoops up the antes. So gains another 4,000 chips that hand. Takes a swig from his gin and tonic. Gently strokes his beard, ready for the next hand. So 6 for JP, 6 for Mark, and it's the 6 of clubs of Mark that has to bring in. JP completes and Mark folds, so JP scoops that one as well. Felix has deuce. JP completes with the 10 of spades. Other 2 fold, and JP shows the ace of spades as well. So Felix is now playing about 85k. And I don't think Mark is very much more than that. JP is up on about probably 240, no, maybe 240,000. There's 420,000 chips in play. So that would be about right. That would be about right. So I think the other guys have got about 80,000 each, and JP's got about 260. Yeah, I think that's about right. 260 plus 80 and 80 gets us to 420. So that's about right, I think. So JP over half the chips in play. 3-handed. So we're playing stud high-low. Stud high-low now, and JP just adds to his chips here. So JP with the king-queen showing bets out there, and he's going to scoop. He really is just chipping away at these two guys, and they don't seem to be wanting to fight back. Mark is bottom left of your screen. Felix is to the left in the white t-shirt, and JP just at the top in the blue t-shirt. So Felix brings in with the 2 of hearts showing. JP completes for the 3 of clubs. Felix calls, so Felix gets a 3 to go with his deuce, and JP gets a 6 to go with his 3. And JP checks. And Felix checks. And Felix has a 10 now, and JP a 7. So Felix is 10-3 deuce, and JP goes for some chips, and Felix very quickly folds, and JP wins that one as well. So ante's a 2,000 here. Bringing his 3, and the small bet is 10. Big bet is 20. Well, I think 20 anyway. So Felix with the bring in. So JP just checking its high-low. He's showing the King of Hearts. And he folds. And Felix takes that down. Not having to do very much. Forced to put the bring in. The other 2 fold. It's a fairly automatic hand, really. On we go. 13.5 minutes left of this level. All these guys are guaranteed a medal. We just don't know what colour yet, and who is going to get the bracelet to go with their gold medal. Prizes now, 415 for third, 620 for second, and first is going to pick up 935. So JP with the bring in with a deuce, raises it up to 10,000 by Mark with a showing a king, and everyone else folds. So JP showing the 3 of hearts is going to bring in. 10 of diamonds for Mark and Jack of hearts for Felix. Actually, JP decides to complete of 10,000 from with the 3, and Felix is going to make the call. So 2 players are going to see 4th Street, and Felix gets a deuce of hearts to go with his jack of hearts, and JP gets a 7 of diamonds to go with his 3 of hearts. Check from Felix, and JP fires out the bet of 10,000. Felix says I raise. JP says I call. Felix is playing maybe 30,000 behind. Felix gets an ace. JP gets a king, and Felix fires out a bet of. Oh, actually, he's only got 20,000 behind. 20s. So yeah, I thought he had 30,000, so he's bet 20,000. He's got 10 behind. So JP's just having a think about this. Effectively, Felix is committed to this pot now. He's only got 10,000 behind. And if JP knows that, then the obvious thing will be here, will JP will just raise it up and Felix will get it in. That's the decision. That's the decision. Yeah. Felix says, please raise me, and JP says, I will not call you, for sure. That's so that only leaves him 2 other options. Quite rightly too. As I was explaining, JP says I'm going to gamble. JP raises, Felix calls, JP takes it back. Felix shows an ace behind, so he's got a pair of aces and also has a heart flush draw. JP has a pair of 7s. Another ace for Felix. We're on the low card hand here, and 2 pair is all JP has got. 7s and 4s, and it's trip aces for Felix, and he is going to double up through what was our chip leader JP, but that brings it a little bit closer. So that's going to put Felix up now around 135,000, I think. So we're moving on to Limit Hold'em. So blinds are 5,000, 10,000. Back to a game I'm a little bit more comfortable with. In fact, I might actually just hand the mic over to Karen, who's there. This is the one game you could get 7 hands of commentary in here. Karen, what do you think?
Well, I've definitely seen this game before. I just haven't seen any of the other ones.
So we've got JP and Mark are going to see a flop of 6, ace, 4. 2 spades out there. JP bets out and Mark folds. So JP's going to add the big blind to his stack. So Mark and Felix are going to see a board of 8, jack, 6. Mark bets out 10. Felix calls, and it's the ace of hearts on the turn, which does 2 diamonds, 2 hearts now. 8, jack, 6, ace. Ace, jack of hearts, 8, 6 of diamonds. 20,000 is the bet from Mark, and it's been called by Felix. I mean, they're both fairly good. Well, Mark certainly is getting committed to this. It's this Queen of Hearts, brings the 3rd heart on the board now on the river. Marks fires out a bet again, and Felix is going to call. And Felix has 5, 6 of hearts for the flush, and Mark is down to absolute fumes now. Seat 2, bottom left of your screen. And that's going to add to Felix's stack, which is probably going to put him about evens with JP now, I would suggest. JP might be still about 20,000 ahead of Felix, but Mark has got, he's actually flicking the chips around in his hand at the moment. There's probably 5, maybe 4 there, I think. And Mark's all in with 5. From the button, the other 2 are pretty much going to call and check this all the way down, I would have thought, unless they hit an absolute monster. Let's see what happens. There's a side pot as well. So the flop is deuce, 6, king. It goes check, check. Another king goes check, check. And the river's a 7, and it's going to go check, check. Anybody got anything? And Mark's pair of 3s sees him win that, and Felix picks up the side pot as well. So Mark gets a triple up and has now got 15k. I think I probably know what will be happening next hand because he's in the big blind. So 10 of it has already gone in the middle. So be Felix to act first on the button. He folds. I mean, the reality for JP is, although we should be calling this with any 2 cards, if he's got absolutely nothing, do you want to give the guy a potential double up again to 60,000? To 30,000, sorry, but he is. It's 2-3 for JP, 6-8 for Mark. The 6-8's at risk. And there's a deuce on the flop, puts JP ahead. Queen on the turn. Mark is going to need a 6 or an 8 on the river. Doesn't get it, and we're going to lose Mark in 3rd place. Very well played to him. So heads up here in the horse event. Players just take a quick 5 minutes, heads up, and then we will restart play and find out who's going to pick up the gold medal and the bracelet.
You know what's happening now? So much Felix is like
So our two players have returned. Felix Fenkel and JP Round playing out for the silver and gold medals in this horse championship, event number 24.
The amount of times we were both dead on our starting table. You wrote pretty short. Various. Okay, guys, so the top 6 next. On this table, we have 315. He was doing things like this. On this table, we have 381, 350, 140. Okay? 315, 230, 224, 381, 350, 140. The top 2 people will qualify for the final, and everything completes to reserve. Now you do have to know. So we're hand for hand, last time.
So Felix bets out 20,000 on a board of 5-3 ace queen. So for the for anyone watching at home, the chips, the yellow chips are 1,000, the pink chips are 5,000. JP, we think, had a chip, just a little bit of a chip lead over Felix, but after that hand there, it's probably now about 240 plays 200 maybe. So not a lot between the two. Still playing Hold'em. Blinds of 5,000, 10,000. JP makes up the small blind, and Felix checks. So we're going to see a flop, and it's 4-9 queen with 2 clubs. It goes check, check, and 3 of diamonds on the turn. Now brings 2 diamonds on board as well, and Felix bets out 20,000. And JP's going to call. So we're going to see a river card, and it's the king of diamonds. So that's 3 diamonds now out on the board. Felix folds this time. JP folds. Felix has got a queen, and JP folds. So sorry, it went check, check, and Felix's queen is good enough, and JP loses that one. Felix adds to his stack, And pretty much he now has 240 plus whatever is in his hand, which is 12. So he's got 252, which gives him the chip lead now over JP, who's now going to have about 188. And so Felix makes up the small blind here. JP in the big option on him, he checks. So we're going to see it flop. And it's ace 9-7 rainbow. JP checks, as does Felix. 9 of diamonds on the turn brings 2 diamonds, so 2 9 on the board. JP bets out and Felix folds. So Felix left hand side of your screen, white t-shirt. JP sort of left topish with a blue t-shirt with a London Underground sign on it. So we're playing 6-12 now. I think last hand of Texas Hold'em. Oh, Omaha High-Low, yeah. Now, on to Omaha High-Low. 6-12 are the blinds. So JP in the small blind. So decision on him. And he's going to raise. Makes it 24, and Felix is going to call. So 48,000 in the middle now. 420,000 chips in play. And the board is ace 4-9. So remember, this is Omaha High-Low. Check from Felix and a check from JP. 4 diamonds on the turn. 2 diamonds, 2 4s on the board now, and Felix bets out 20,000. 24, he just realises is what the bet needs to be. Doesn't matter if it was 20 or 24. I think JP was folding, and he did. So on we go. Small blind for Felix this time, and it's JP in the big blind. Prizes we're paying out here. Second place is £620 and first place is £935. But I think to these two guys who've been here all week, I don't think the money really matters. It's the bracelet you can see on the table there in between the 2 medals. That is what these guys want very, very badly. I'd suggest after the 8 game, the horse event is very much, the second most prestigious side event we run this week. Always a massive demand for players to get, and this event sold out. So we've had a raise and a call here, pre. So we're going to see the flop, and it's King, King, Jack, Rainbow. Pretty much makes it very difficult for a low hand now. So the guys are playing just the high hand. And it's gone check, check. 3 of hearts on the turn brings 2 hearts on the board now. And it's gone check, check again. And it's another 3. So 2 kings, 2 3s, and a jack. Remember, players have got to use 2 hands from their whole cards. 2 cards from their whole hand. Oh, it's getting late. It really is. JP bets out, 24,000. There's only the high hand out there. And Felix is going to fold. JP scoops that one. So, Felix is playing about 260 now, I think it is, in total. 280, he says to me. 280, cool. 260, yeah. He says 280, then he agrees with me. I mean, that's nice. It's nice to know. It's nice to know. Which means JP's playing 160. Oh, no, 180, sorry. So it's 260 versus 180 as we play this hand. JP calls from the small blind. And we're going to see a flop. And it's Queen 7 Ace with 2 clubs. Check from Felix. And it's a check from JP. So we're going to see the Queen of Diamonds on the turn. And Felix fires out a bet of 24,000 this time. 2 queens, ace 7, 2 clubs, 2 diamonds on the board, and JP folds. Felix very much chipping away here now at JP. Very much feels a game of momentum. Felix in the small blind, JP in the big. And Felix says I raise. Makes it 24,000. And JP folds. Really putting the pressure on JP here now. And we're going to have a change of dealer. Thanks very much to Gabriella. And we welcome Andrew. Andrew, I thought it was. A warm welcome to Andrew, the dealer, to this feature table. Heads up here in the horse event. We're playing Omaha High-Low. So it's JP's small blind this time. And he says, I'm going to raise. And Felix is not interested. And JP scoops. So interesting here, Germans on the water, English on the gin. So Felix calls from the small blind. JP has an option and he checks it. So we're going to see a flop. And it's 10 King Jack rainbow. And Felix bets. So action on JP to start with. And he says a raise. Raises to 24,000 and Felix makes the call. So we're going to see a flop with maximum chips in the middle. And it's Queen 3-9 to hearts. Felix checks. And JP's going to fire at. JP's going to fire out another bet, which is 12. Felix is going to call. Going to see a turn. And it's the 10 of hearts on the turn. So that's Queen of hearts, 3 of diamonds, 9 of hearts, 10 of hearts. This is feeling like it could be quite a critical hand in this heads up. JP fires out a bet. And Felix folds. So we're changing the variant. We're on to Raz. Level 19 you're on now. Yeah. So 3 of the antes, 3 is the bring in, and 12 is the small bet. Well, not small bet, sorry, it is the bet. 3-3-12. So Felix says he completes. It's a call from JP. JP showing a 9 and Felix a 5, and they've both got dealt deuces to go with those. So Felix bets 12,000. And JP folds, flipping over another deuce. Deuce in your hands helps towards a nice starting hand. When you get then dealt another deuce, it kind of kills that for you. So Felix gets an 8 and 7 for JP. So bring-in is Felix, and JP says he completes, and Felix calls that. So we're going to go to 4th Street, and it's another 8 for Felix, and it's a 10 for JP. And JP reaches for chips, Felix folds. So JP's playing now 210, and that means Felix must be playing 230. Definitely not 430. Yeah. We've doubled his stack. Yeah, I know. So 210 for JP, 230 for Felix. And JP showing the queen brings in. Felix bets out with a jack, and that's good enough. JP folds very, very quickly. On we go. Felix showing. I'm just fighting against the card room tannoy with it. So Felix is showing 5-3 deuce. JP showing ace 10-7. Felix bets out and JP folds. And that's going to put JP back down about 180. Might have me 170. So a deuce for Felix, an ace for JP, and bring in from JP. So bring in from Felix. Ah, JP shows ace 4-5. Nice starting hand, very nice indeed. So king showing for Felix, and it's a 10 for JP. JP completes, and Felix says I raise, which JP calls. We're still playing Raz, by the way. It's a 5 to go with the king for Felix. It's another 10 for JP. I can't see. Yeah, Felix bets out here. I can't see JP doing anything else, and JP folds. Another 10 there's not going to do any help. I can only assume that Felix actually had two good starting hands behind, or felt JP was just trying to bet him off the pot. But either way, it worked. So bring in for JP with a 9, and Felix completes with a 5. I think it's before this hand started, it's pretty much a 2-1 chip lead for Felix now. Felix pairs his 5. JP gets a 5 as well and folds. Felix folds and JP wins that hand. So we're moving on to stud high. So ace showing for Felix, queen showing for JP. And Felix doesn't complete, JP folds. So it's about 280 playing about 160 in favour of our German player. Felix just ahead, left-hand side of your screen. So deuce for Felix is the bring in. JP's going to complete with the 8 of diamonds showing, and Felix calls that. So we're going to go to 4th Street here, and it's an 8 to go with the deuce for Felix, and it's a 3 to go with the 8 for JP. Very similar hands now. Face up, 8 deuce and 8-3. Felix gets a jack to go with his 8 deuce, and it's a 9 to go with JP's. They're checking it down. Not a lot going on here at the moment. A 9 for Felix and an ace now for JP, and he fires at a bet of 24,000. Which Felix pretty quickly calls. So 7th Street. This feels like a hand now that JP really needs to win. And he checks. And Felix is going to fire out a bet, 24,000. JP's playing about 120 behind. So 24,000 is pretty much 20% of his stack. He's going to make the call, and I'm guessing therefore, because Felix has a good call, so I'm assuming wow, and JP's made the call with ace, basically ace high with the ace king, but Felix has ace king as well, but also has a jack, so Felix is going to scoop that one and is going to take a pretty decent chip lead now. So JP's got 95,000. JP has 95,000, which means Felix is going to have 345,000 of the chips in play. So they both got an ace showing. For JP, his ace of clubs means he's got to bring in. And it's just a flat call of the bring in from Felix, showing the ace of diamonds. Felix gets a 9. JP gets another ace. And Felix is pretty much was ready to fold before JP even looked. Before JP even looked at a card. So on we go. Say 300 is the ante, 300 is the bring in, 12k's bet. And it's a 6 showing for Felix, so he brings in. JP's got an ace showing and is going to complete. And Felix folds. So JP scooped a couple of chips back last 2 hands, but very much the chip lead now is in favour of our German player in seat 3, left-hand side of your screen. You can see the 2 players just in the box in the bottom. Hopefully the overhead gives you an idea of their chip stacks and what's going on. So got a nice little rail here as well. Hopefully, yeah, you can see a few of those as well in the screen as well. 9 for Felix and an 8 for JP. So JP's going to bring in, and Felix completes to 12, and JP is going to call that. So we're going to go to 4th Street, and it's a 6 to go with a 9 for Felix, and it's a 4 to go with the 8 for JP. So it'll be Felix ahead to bet first, and he bets out 12,000. And I think JP's going to make the call once he stopped laughing at whatever was said on the rail over there. And he does make the call. So we're going to see 5th Street here. And it's a king for Felix, and it's a deuce for JP. So Felix now has king of clubs, 6 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, and bets out, and JP folds. JP now down to 93,000. So JP now down to 93,000, which means Felix has 347,000. That's nearly a 4-to-1 chip lead. But it only takes JP getting a full double up here, and we'll be back in the mix. Ace for Felix and a 10 for JP. So JP's bringing in. And Felix completes, JP folds. So JP down to 90,000 now, 350 for Felix. So 7 for Felix and a 4 for JP. So JP's bringing in. And I've got a feeling Felix will complete, and he is. And JP calls. So we're going to see 4th Street. And Felix gets a 7 to go with his other 7, and JP gets a king to go with his 4. And Felix fires out a bet, and JP folds. So we move on to stud high-low for 7 hands. Pretty much the Rails' favourite game. They look forward to this. Yeah, dealer loves stud high-low. Can't get enough of it. It's the only reason Andrew sat down, so he could deal this. So queen showing for Felix and a 6 showing for JP. As always seems to happen in this game, the shorter stack is the one bringing in. Felix completes and JP folds. And Felix chips away another 6,000 from JP's stack. So next hand, and Felix showing a 9, JP showing a 10. Felix brings in, JP is going to... is going to complete, and Felix makes the call. So we're going to get a 4th Street here. And Felix gets a 6 to go with his 9. JP gets a second 10. JP's going to bet 12. And very much is showing a sign that he's committed to the pot here for this particular hand. And Felix folds. JP had about 28 behind, I think it was, but wins that pot. We've just got a minute and a half left on this level, and we will be going up again. So ace showing for Felix, and it's a 10 for JP. So JP will be bringing in. Felix completes. JP folds. Shows a 3 and a 6, so a great low start. With the ace showing as well, puts him in a strong position to win that hand if it had gone all the way down the streets. But It's roughly about, I think, 370 to Felix and 70. So Felix completes with a 3. JP says, "Do I have an option to raise?" Felix says, "Of course you do." And he says, "I raise then," and Felix folds. Yeah, you've got to be careful there. So Felix with a 8-5-4 king, JP with a 9-3-6-6, and 3 spades for JP, and he bets 24,000, and Felix is going to fold. Who's complete with a 9 for JP, and he wins that. Director Jürgen has just told us that we're blinds are up. Yeah. To be fair, I did call it when it was a minute and a half to go, and then I forgot to look at the clock again to say it was it. So yeah. So ante is 3, bringing is 5, and then it's 8-16 is the bets. So Felix with a 4, and JP with the 6. That's completed, and Felix gets a 5 with his 4, and Felix bets, and JP calls. Felix gets a jack to go with his 5 and his 4, and JP now has a 9 with his 8 and his 6. He's got 2 spades, and 30,000 is the bet from Felix, and he wins that. And we change the game now to Limit Hold'em. So playing Limit Hold'em, and the blind levels are 15-30, and JP is playing about 60, 75, 78, I think it is, 78,000, and Felix raises it up to 60,000 from the small blind. JP's got a decision pretty much. This is for his tournament life if he makes the call. He says I re-raise. Felix is going to pretty much call once he's done that, I think. Yeah. They're going in. They're all going in. JP has aces, and it's Queen 8 of diamonds. It's the aces that are at risk. It's 6 King 3 with 1 diamond. Another diamond on the turn. And a third diamond on the river, and that is going to be it. We're going to lose JP in second place, and Felix is going to be our winner of the horse event. Runner for the diamond flush. Both players, that was a great heads up. I think he might want that run out on the photo.
I'm leaving that. Definitely think he wants that run out on the photo.
Right, guys, so that's us done from Manchester for another night. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We're back tomorrow. We've got a whole lot of events on over the weekend, and we'll be getting as many final tables streamed as we possibly can. We're just going to set up for Felix's winner's photo from event number 24, the Horse Championship. Huge congratulations to JP, runner-up. A pretty horrible run out there, but it is what it is. That's how this game works. We'll see you guys back. We'll see you guys back in Manchester for another stream tomorrow. Thanks very much.
All right, mate. Nice to see you again. Yeah, nice to see you. Nice run. just need to have your first proper.
You went I want you to finish that. It's on stream. I've done course for like 3 hours this afternoon. I'm not confident. Then you went, you'll be fine first hand.
It's limit hold'em, it'll get you in the groove.
Thank you, and good night.
Good night, boys.
Cheers, guys. Ian, thanks for the big compliment. Much appreciated.
But like,
I was hoping we were going to completely.
yeah, that's real tedious to commentate on though, so I'm kind of glad.
It would have been good.
See you tomorrow, guys.
You'd have made it good. You would have made it good.
Hey.
Finally expecting Dezo.
Quarter past 12.
No, yeah,
He's in Wales. Well, I saw him posting on the boat. See in.
it wasn't that